You are now listening to Kindred Spirits Podcast on the RFK Refugees Podcast Network.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Kindred Spirits here on the RFK Refugees Podcast Network. Ted here. John is not here. John has unfortunately been struck a little bit ill, which is a shame because he was in the press box for the game, for the Spirit game last weekend. But I watched it. We have some analysis we can provide for sure, and we will just have John in spirit and John in our thoughts as he tries to recover. Make it sound like it's really bad. It's probably just a cold or something. Brian, producer Brian's joining us. Brian, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. Doing my best to fill the space. We're gonna miss out on a lot of the live insights from John this week. But yeah, hopefully he's on the mend. And I'm sure we'll take to Twitter and correct any of our commentary if he takes offense to it. So
yeah, he will do a Thursday show, I'm sure, where he will point by point go through everything we're about to mess up. Go ahead. Sorry, you gonna say something? No, just okay. All right. Good, off to a great start. All right, Washington Spirit. It's been a while since we've done a show on the Spirit, and I think maybe that's been a reflection of how things have looked for the team, which has been going from, hey, we're competing for top of the NWSL to, well, let's just try to make the playoffs and get a solid seed. It's been a little bit of a rough going since the U.S. women's national team players come back. I think there might have been a little bit of a hangover. I mean, it is a lot to travel and then try to come back and play. I'm hopeful after the latest game that things are better. I really felt like, they got the gutsy draw against Portland. They went, okay, we're like, Chicago, that's going to be a win. That's easy done, easy in. And they played a game where they were absolutely dominant all over the field for Chicago, ran them off the field, and somehow lost the game 2-0 because soccer is nothing but slaps you in the face if you think you're going to do well. And I felt like that game maybe kind of broke this team a little bit, and it's been a recovery because the Gotham game they then had a couple weeks ago, they were not the better team out there. Gotham played better, and overall, I think we've seen the addition of Sar, and John I know has been a little critical. I also noticed it as well. It's sort of forced a formation shift for this team into kind of a 4-2-3-1. And it's been a little bit of an adjustment to get him involved. And I feel like the team just does not look, when we've watched this team play and we've watched them play well, they've looked, even in this KC game, and I'll get into a little bit about that, they have not looked like they've been a team that's been fully on the same page. They look kind of slow and a little bit unsure in the attack. And basically teams I think have maybe just kind of figured out, we're just going to kind of bunker in. If we get into a track meet with, Trinity Rodman or Ashley Sanchez or Hatch, we're going to lose. But if we keep them in front of us, they really can't break us down right now. And I think really the thought is that Sar needs to be the player that sort of steps up, because this formation shift has been because she's been introduced to the team. I'm not really sure it's been working so well. Even after this game, I'm still a little bit of unsure of kind of where this team sits. I thought, particularly in the first half, like KC looked like the more threatening team, and they win the PK, so they get the benefit of the penalty kick. But overall, when they would get in the attack, I would be much more nervous about them scoring than excited when I saw the Spirit attack. I don't know if you had a similar thought there, or any sort of difference of opinion as far as that goes.
No. I think the thing that was overwhelming for me is and I think impressive from a Kansas City perspective was the space that they were able to create. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they always made great use of it, but their attack, you could tell, was very coordinated, and I think you hit on it where the Spirit aren't quite firing on the same cylinders. In Kansas City, regardless of the output of it, well coordinated, well thought out, creating lots of space, players moving into space. I think, and obviously we'll get to the scoreline here. They probably underperformed their expectations in this game.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the biggest thing, and also another thing that to maybe talk about as we look at some where this team has also faltered, I think it's also been a little bit on Andy Sullivan and Paige Mateer. Paige Mateer maybe coming down. She had such a very strong first part of the season. She's sort of, I think, had to shift to a new role, sort of as that sort of in that sort of double pivot with Andy Sullivan. And, there were a couple times Casey got the ball on a breakaway and they kind of broke down that middle, and neither one of Sullivan or Mateer were able to really make much of a difference. I also noticed this team is not really, they're not getting the ball into the box where I think they need to get it. And I think they're struggling a little bit to push forward and create some of those in the box opportunities. A lot of shots from outside the box, a lot of shots from moments where you can't really score. And really the game kind of changed. The game kind of changed really once in the second half when Casey, the Spirit get a goal out of nothing, a great goal from Sar. I hope that gives her some confidence. And gets her maybe going a little bit. And then really Casey started to push the game a little bit. They're trying to get a win. They are sitting 11th. They are, out of a playoff spot right now. They needed to win this game. And essentially, they, I think, pushed it a little bit, and that gave Spirit then the space where they could kind of run into the things. That's where you get, Gabby Carl able to hit a ball to Trinity Rodman for the game-winning goal. That's where you get those moments. So that the second half, once Casey pushed the game a little bit and tried to push forward, that opened up the space that that the Spirit rely on a lot with a player like Trinity Rodman to sort of take that space and go in and score. So I don't know. This is a great win for the team. I think it's a good momentum booster, but from a tactical perspective and from what I've seen from this team so far, didn't really change a whole lot of feelings, I guess, that this team is truly back to what we saw at the beginning of the year. They got another opportunity coming up. Obviously, I think she might have an international break coming up, but they've got a game coming up where they need to go out and get a win. But I think it's still, for all intents and purposes, still an important win. And actually, the next game will be Friday on the 6th. So they got Oil Rain away. So it doesn't get easy. They got Oil Rain, and then they've got the North Carolina Courage at home. So it's not going to be an easy stretch coming up. So.
Yeah, back to Sar's goal. I think if anything, you see maybe why they invest in her, because that was a rocket. Mm-hmm. I don't think you see a lot of players in the NWSL that could hit that shot from where she hit it. You hit on the team not really putting the ball into the box in the places that they should. I just did a quick look and I couldn't confirm, but I'd have to guess that like headed goals or like even headed shots from from Ashley Hatch, which is something that we saw a lot of in like the last two seasons. I feel like that's something that is down. I think where in prior seasons and maybe when we were playing better, you saw a lot down the flanks with play back into the middle. And I think that's where players like Sanchez and Hatch are a little bit more dangerous. I do think we've come to rely a lot on some of the direct runs and stuff from Trinity to create chances. And when teams know that, if they can be effective in trying to shut that down, and obviously on that second goal, they weren't. But when you kind of get a singular style of attack, it becomes a little bit easier for teams to respond to that.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of I can't even say the word right now. They're not as dynamic, and I think about where this team has sort of shifted. They were a 4-3-3, so you had Hatch sort of playing center, you had Rodman, and you had Sanchez kind of on your left and right. Those types of players, I think also it kind of suited what the talent you had out there. I think this adjustment, I'm sure maybe Mark Parsons is seeing something that I'm not, but I just really feel like in general, this movement of Sara has kind of moved some things around. I think Trinity has done fine. I think she's still playing kind of her central role where she's gonna, push forward a little bit. But I think maybe it's impacted Sanchez because now she's more in the center of the field instead of out left or right, and kind of not really cutting in. I do think that goal gave certainly gave maybe a little bit of a jolt. It's the first time this team has scored. I think I looked and it was like the first time the team had scored since like August from open play. It was the first, non-penalty goal, and the first goals, they scored in a PK, I think, against the Thorns in late August as well. So it's certainly been rough goings for this team, but I think, again, you still have to look at the talent that this team has, and you look at the moments where they did get the goals. Obviously, the Sar goal was something that was needed, and then of course the late goal. That's the type of goal that you would have thought you would be seeing a lot more of. Gabby Carl, great, wing back type player, plays the ball over to Trinity Rodman. Trinity Rodman does what she does best, which is run directly at the defense, and that's where she's dangerous. And that's something that I thought Casey did a pretty good job of trying to shut down, mostly in the first and for most of the second half, and then they let it go for that one moment, and we just see what Trinity Rodman brings is that sort of speed and just really an ability to make that happen. So great goal for her. Team gets the win and the 3 points, and they move themselves up the table. They're now back in, I believe, now fourth. It's still an incredibly tight table. They do have a really tough stretch coming up. Anything else you wanted to add about this game? Anything else you noticed about it, or
No,
want to
no,
provide?
no. I think you hit the high points, Ted. Like you said, really tight still. In ESL. So still a lot to play for. I think with is it 3 games remaining?
2 games.
2 games.
Yep.
Right.
They play the Reign on the 6th, and then they play at home against North Carolina Courage on the 15th. So they get the benefit of basically the team above them and the team right below them. So it's going to be a little bit of a dogfight. If they pick up 2 wins in this game, I think we're sitting pretty, and we're talking about maybe everything's back to normal. But these are going to be 2 very, very tough games that these teams are going to have. So hopefully this is, I think the second half does give me a little bit of hope about this team moving forward. I think they definitely generated a lot of set piece chances as well. I think that was another nugget from this game. Tara McKeown almost had a header. I think it's just going to be about trying to get Sara more involved, have her start to sort of play. Hopefully this is a boost for her, and this is a chance for her to show really what she's all about and really validate, the move that Parsons made when they brought her in and changed this whole formation for her. I think it's an opportunity in these 2 games to show a little bit of that. I'm wondering, will that game be at CenturyLink Field? I was just wondering about that. It is at Lumen Field. That's going to be interesting. It'll be at the where the Sounders play, not at that baseball field converted place. So, fun game, certainly fun. Hopefully a win coming up for this team. Hopefully this team can find some momentum. I think overall, another thing we got to talk about too is the crowd. 11,000 out at Audi Field. This is a team that is certainly, despite their struggles, they're doing a lot of fan friendly things, and fans are coming out and showing their support. And we're talking about, the big thing about DC season tickets and how expensive those have gotten, how those went up. Miami season tickets, MLS is trending away from that sort of, the, young college money, cheap tickets type of group, the working class, and becoming more of a, well, now we feel like we're a hot ticket item, whether they are or not. And, we've got Messi, we've got big time players. So we're going to increase prices and things are going to go up. And you have the Spirit being like, well, we really want people out there. We want to create atmospheres. So here, buy a season ticket and get it the next year free. So it's really awesome to see the fans showing up. It's awesome to see, that type of thing showing up. And those types of games that we had today against the Current, or it's today, the same types of games we had Saturday against the Current, I think are gonna continue to have that grow. So
I think this podcast is certainly excited to see them continue to grow after everything that the team has been through, all the years at Segra Field, the changes in the front office and
Ownership.
things over the last year, ownership, certainly grown this team. I think maybe one of the things that DC United has struggled with is necessarily like endearing itself to those that haven't followed it for a long time, and I think that the Spirit are doing a really great job of reaching out and doing that in a way that hopefully is healthy for them in the long run.
I use the phrase, fans can smell BS. You can dress something up as much as you want. You can put out all the press releases saying, "Oh, we're going after this. We're definitely going after it. We care. We want to win." But fans know when they're being led astray, and I feel like for DC, fans have been led astray. Now we have the team has spent. DC has spent more. They're fifth in the league, but you look at compared to what the Spirit do. They reconfigured their whole website. They've hired a whole bunch of staff. They have the most staff out of any NWSL team. They're advocating for building a training facility specifically for that team. They are, they've moved the team to Audi Field. They are becoming fan friendly. They're coming up with deals. So fans know when they're appreciated and respected and not just treated as you're a wallet and you're going to give us money and you're going to watch this thing that, you can't watch otherwise, or, you can't watch as cheaply otherwise. So I think we're seeing the Spirit really care about that. And that's awesome to see. All right, I'm sure John would have much more analysis to bring you guys. We're doing our best with him, unfortunately being sick. So I'm sure he will bring some on the Thursday show if he's feeling up to it. In the meantime, though, guys, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll catch you guys next week. Vamos.
Vamos.